So, hi everyone. So, let me give a quick introduction about myself. So, my name is Atul Sharma, and I have almost 11 plus years of experience. And I started my career with a network engineer, okay, and then became a network specialist. Then we call this TAC engineer. Then I moved to another company that is like I was advanced TAC engineer. So in my whole 11 years of experience, I have worked with one company that is Ericent, which is a Cisco partner, and then I worked for TCS, then I worked for Apple, and my last company was Juniper Networks. Okay. So in these sessions, obviously, I'm not able to train you for all my 11 years experience, but I'm trying to relate and all. I'm going to give all the career guidance and whatever questions you have. I'll try to give in these 5 days session. So how we are going to start this, right? So I'm going to focus on the network fundamentals part because either you are not trying to move into networking field, or if you want to go into the cyber security, or if you are a DevOps engineer or any particular thing, so you need IT or networks knowledge, right? So if you want to become a cloud engineer like AWS, Azure, or if you already have a good experience but you are not able to crack your interviews because of uh, what we call that um, lack of basic fundamentals, right? Some guys have good understanding of configurations of router and switches, but they don't have good understanding of the basic stuff, like how things works. So we are going to discuss about that also. So I'm going to focus on the network fundamentals part, and this is your session, so you will decide what exactly I'll cover. So I'm going to cover obviously network fundamentals, but do you guys need then that I should cover this subnetting part? Just say yes. If you don't want, then we can skip this. Mhm. Okay, those guys are saying no. Can you tell me, can you divide this class into two parts? I just want to create a network with this network with two parts. What would be the slash value if you know subnetting? Just tell me this answer. Okay, leave it. So they got a homework now. Okay. Yeah, few guys are good with subnetting, I think. But it's a session for everyone, right? It's not for just. Okay, so we will cover network fundamentals, subnetting also. So I'm adding a subnetting. So we will cover 1 day subnetting. So those who are comfortable in subnetting, they can skip this session. Okay. And third day, again, we are going to do some basic practicals like how to configure a router or how to configure a switch. Okay. And let's see how it will be. Okay. So now I'm starting with the network fundamentals. Okay. So let's start. Okay. So I'll start with what is network. So what is network? So guys, you can always put down your answers in the chat. So what is network? So like if two computers are connected, they are all, this is also a network, right? So computer A is connected to computer B. So they can share the things with each other. They can send files to each other. So this is a network also, right? And if multiple computers are connected, suppose four computers or four devices are connected with a device which is known as what? how to undo. Yeah. So four devices are connected with a device that is known as switch. Okay. So this is also a network. When four computers or four devices are connected together, that is also a network, right? And when we talk about like, suppose I'm sitting in India right now, and you will be taking this session from US. Okay. So I'm in India right now, and you are in US. So so we are also connected, right? But how we are connected? We are connected with service provider network. Okay, so you have your own ISP. Suppose you have AT&T, and in India I'm using maybe Airtel or Geo or whatever, right? So all these ISPs are connected together with a cable, or you can say that a fiber cable, that is submarine cable. Submarine cable. Okay. Okay, so what is submarine cable? I'll show you all these things. Okay. So this is also a network. So means network can be like two computers are connected together, and network can be like if four or five computers are connected. So computers, PCs, laptops, mobiles, you can say anything, any host. So we can say that host. So what is host? So host, basically any device which gets the IP address is known as host. So PC is host, laptop is host, server is host. So when we say host in networking, so host means the any device which gets the IP address, that is host. Okay. So PC, laptop, servers, all these machines are your host. Okay. So now, so got my point, right? So this is network. And what is networking then? So this is network. So what is networking? Right? So IT networking, or you can say the networking. So networking means when they are going to share the data. So suppose you are watching my screen right now. So we are sharing resources with each other. So sharing of data and resources is known as networking. Okay. So sharing of data and resources in a network is known as networking. Yeah. So this is the basic I'm covering. Okay, so now in network we have like in industry we call this LAN and WAN. So don't just read the books with MAN, PAN, and there are a lot of other networks. So just simply learn these two terms, LAN and WAN. So what is LAN and WAN? So LAN is local area network. Okay, and what is WAN? That is wide area network. So these are only just the terms. Trust me. But when you will be in the industry, you will not be figure out this is WAN or LAN, what exactly. But yes, in a simple term, suppose uh, you have your own office, and let's say this office is in Mumbai. Okay, so this device, this icon is of a circle with this like four lines. So this is a representation of a router. Okay, so this is a representation of router. So why I'm adding a router here in Mumbai? Because maybe I have another router in Chennai. Okay, okay, so why we have two routers? Because when we connect with the different networks, we need a device that is known as router. So what is router? So when you want to connect two different networks, so I'll write here router. So when you want to connect two or more networks, and which are different, right? So when you want to connect two or more different networks, okay, so different networks, then we use this router. So let me take an example. Suppose you are sitting at home, you have a broadband router right now, and router is connected with internet. Okay, so you have your own mobile phone, laptops, okay, which are connected with the router. Okay. So my these devices or these PCs are connected to internet. So internet is what? Internet is a network of networks. So what is internet? Because a lot many companies and users are connected. That is internet. So internet is nothing but a network of networks, a very big network, which is a combo of small networks, big networks. So you can simply say that internet is a network of networks, right? Yes, it's an interconnection of network, correct? Right. So this device router is helping you out to connect outside your network. So this is the role of router. When you connect with a different network, this is the reason we all have routers at home when we get the broadband connection or any type of connection. Got it? So this is the reason when you have your branch in Mumbai and you have another branch office in Chennai, so if you want to connect both the locations, so you need a hardware device that is known as router. Okay, got it? So router is what? When two or more different networks are connected together, they actually need a device that is router. Okay, got it? So below this network, below this router, okay, so we have a device that is, you can say that simply, that is a device which is a switch. Okay, so switch has a lot of ports, like 4 ports, 8 ports. So it has a ports where we can connect our computers, servers, printers, or any type of network device. And this switch is actually connected with your router. Okay, so this area or this area, you can say that this is a LAN network, right? And Chennai also have same type of terminology, that we have a switch, all my computer servers are connected together, and that is also a local area network. And this we can say that this is a wide area network. And now WAN, so this wide area network doesn't mean like we are connecting two locations only, that is WAN. So WAN can be of two types, that is private and one is public. Okay, so public means internet and private means your private connection. So when you are paying, see, it's a very simple thing, just understand. So when you are not getting, or if you don't want to pay a lot, you can just use internet connections. Suppose Mumbai device, just hold on. Yeah. So Mumbai device is connected with internet and Chennai is also connected with the internet, right? So now with the help of internet, you are actually connecting your Mumbai and Chennai, that we can say that this is a VPN. Okay. So when you want to connect Mumbai and Chennai location with internet, because in Mumbai we also have internet, in Chennai we also have internet, right? So when you want to connect to your branch offices headquarters, at that time we can say that we need to create a VPN connection between Mumbai and Chennai. That is your public WAN. So this type of network is known as public WAN, when you are actually using public resources and connecting your locations. Got it? Say yes in the chat. Yeah, I'll explain what is a switch. Don't worry. Okay, good. Yes. Okay, so when we are going to connect with the help of internet, that is known as public WAN. And when we have enough money that we want secure connection, we can use a dedicated line that is known as private WAN. But yes, we don't have enough funds to invest a cable between Mumbai and Chennai. So who is going to make or create a connection for you? ISP. So in both the networks, in private WAN, your ISP will be same for on both the ends. Like in Mumbai, also you are using Airtel, and in Chennai also you have to use Airtel. Then only you Airtel can create a virtual connection or a hardware connection, lease line. There are lot many type of ISP connections available, right? Like MPLS, L2 VPN, L3 VPN. There are a lot of other connectivities that is too advanced right now for you. So just understand one thing, like in WAN we have two type of connections, private and public. So when we connect all our offices with internet, okay, so that is public WAN. And when we connect all our offices with the dedicated line with a high cost cable or leased line, you can say that leased line, okay, so that type of connection you can say that private. So private is costly and secure, but so it's a secure connection because nobody is in between the connections. But in public WAN, it's internet, it's not costly, it's a cheap connection, but yet it's not secure. So this is the reason we have to use advanced technologies like VPN, IPsec, or other type of things. So that I'll discuss. Okay, so that is the difference between local area network and wide area network. So local means the network which is behind your router, or you can say that downstream, like all your switches, routers, and all. So this is the LAN network. When you are going from outside your network, that is WAN, wide area network. So you can simply say that. So this is my wide area network. Okay. Yeah. So let's move on. So I'll explain what is a switch. Okay. See, so switch is a device which is used to connect two or more hosts or two or more computers. So what you will do when you have two or more computers, like let's take an example. Suppose we are four guys and we want to play a LAN game. Okay, so we want to play a LAN game like Counter Strike, Call of Duty, and anything, right? We want to play together. What exactly we will do? So either we can create we can connect with the Wi-Fi or something, but or simply we can buy a switch from market which is hardly 10 to $15, right? And we will connect all our devices with this device. This is a switch. But we in market, when we buy switches from Amazon or from any website, it starts from $10. And like we have a very big companies like Cisco, Juniper, HP, Aruba, and lot many big companies. They have $2,000 switches. They have $20,000 switches. But what is the difference between this $10 and $2,000? Basically features. Features. So in a normal $10 switch, when this device uh, wants to communicate with B, the information will pass on to D also, C also. So this happens with the local switches, which are known as unmanageable switches. So unmanageable switches are nothing, just a extension to the devices. Like suppose you have a power surge, right, at your home or at your office, or extension board, what we call. So you have a one power socket. So what you will do when you want to connect multiple devices, you will order a power surge, right? Or a power extension board where you get multiple ports, and you can put your charger, laptop charger, and other things, right? So the same it this unmanageable switch is like this is just an extension so that you can connect multiple devices. But when we talk about manageable devices, manageable switches, so they have a lot of functionalities like VLAN is a concept which comes under manageable switch. So all your industry companies or big firms actually uses manageable switches so that it we can create a lot many or we can use a good features in these manageable switches, but in unmanageable switches we hardly get any feature. Okay, yes, you can say that it works like a hub, right? But it's not a hub right now, because hub is obsolete technology. Nobody uses hub right now. Guys, can you please stop your video? Okay. Okay, so switch is nothing. When we want to connect devices in a company, we use actually manageable switches. And when we just want to play games or just want to use at our home offices or a very small offices, we can use unmanageable switches. So now in switches, we have this term L2 and L3. So what is this L2 and L3 switch? Okay. So L2, L3 switch I'll explain later, because before knowing this, you should know about the OSI model. What is the example of unmanageable switch? I'll show you something. Just hold on. Hmm. Okay, so I'll show you. See, this is an unmanageable switches. So you can see it hardly costs $10, 15, 20, $17 device, which will help you to connect 4 to 5 machines. So you can see, so it's a 17.99 $18 device, which will help you to connect at least approx 4 to 5 devices. So you can see 5 port. So it means you can plug almost 5 devices in this device, and this is unmanaged. You can see here, unmanaged. So in industry, you can have around 24 port, 8 port, or 48 port also. So you can able to connect 48 devices. So that is unmanageable device. That is very like you can say that cheap or like cost effective, but from industry point of view this is not acceptable because it doesn't have too many things. Okay. Yeah, but you can see here is managed, but somehow it's a smart managed or partially managed. So it is giving you option of VLAN, but if you go and buy the Cisco switches, which are or HP switches, so they are very costly. So these even Cisco makes very small devices nowadays. Okay, but this is hardly at $60, but when you go into the industry side, it will cost more, or maybe $1,000, or maybe you can see this. So I'll show you one device that is 3850. So that model is 3850. Okay. So Cisco has a device that is also a switch that will cost around 3000 plus, or maybe and maybe this is a new, or you can see the actual price is $14,000. Maybe this is the old one or refurbished one. Okay. I'm audible, guys? Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so this is the difference between managed and unmanageable. Okay, so I'm giving you some real examples by showing some images and with Amazon. So what's the difference actually? So unmanageable is like very basic functionality just to get the work done. But in manageable switch, we get VLAN features and lot other things. So this is the difference between unmanageable and manageable. Because people actually ask me when they do um, what exactly they ask, sir, what's the difference between this $10 or $20 switch and with $2000 devices, because they have more functionalities. They have, and what type of functionalities that you will discuss, that will be discussed later on. Yes, So it goes with the router also. So if you have, let me show you. Yeah. So now let me take a snapshot so that okay. So now router. So router is also like, you can say that it's a manageable or unmanageable, but it's better to call this uh, when we have this device at our home. So we actually think that this is a router. Suppose you have a broadband connection, but this is not a router. This is actually a device which is a combo of a router, modem, these type of technologies, and this is what we call ADSL device or DSL device. Okay, so what is ADSL? That is asymmetric digital subscriber line. Suppose you got a connection from AT&T, or maybe you got a connection from Airtel in India. Okay, any from any ISP. So the type of device you are looking at right now, maybe that device is not a router. So that is a ADSL because it has a functionality of modem. So why we use modem, by the way? So let me explain you what is modem. So modem is actually doing modulation. So what is modulation? And modem also does the demodulation. And what is this demodulation? So when we get any type of signals, they are coming in the form of analog signals, right? So when the signals are coming to your device and your computer understand which signals, digital signals, right? So we can't send analog signals directly to the system, to the PC. So this is the reason we have, or ISP put down one device, that is ADSL. So this device is actually converting your analog signals into digital signals and sending those signals in the form of 0 and 1, and computer understand those signals, and the same way it is giving back digital signals, and ADSL is converting these digital signals again back to the analog signal. So this is modem, and this modem is actually integrated into this device ADSL. And now ADSL has one another functionality, router, because this device is actually created for multi-purpose. Router, modem, it has a 3 4 ports outside also, like it has a small switch inside also. And this is a very cheap device which is used by ISP to provide the internet connectivity. Yeah, it goes with the fiber also. Your fiber modems actually converting your light signals, because when you have a fiber or fiber type of modem, the signals are coming in the form of light, right? So that is optical transmission. So when we get any type of communication with in the form of signals, that we call this optical, but your computer does not understand these type of things. So we have to convert this into digital signals or electrical signals. So this is what fiber modem does. So fiber modem is converting your light signals into electrical signals. Got it? Yeah. So Himanshu has a question. Sir, I have a Wi-Fi router. These are not Wi-Fi routers basically. So if ISP has given you something, I'll show you with the example again. Okay, just hold on. Mm, yeah. So again, see, when we buy ADSL, so this type of device is like a router, but it has ADSL functionality also. Like you can see this modem. So this is a Motorola device or with Wi-Fi. Everything is inside, and it has a lot. See, you can see the ports. So it is a switch also, because it has around 4 5 ports. so that you can connect to your devices. And it has a DSL cable also. This DSL is when we have phone connectivity, like from any of the service provider, this all that cable is actually giving you analog signal, and this port is actually converting your analog signals to digital. Okay, so this is ADSL device. Okay, ADSL, DSL. So this is actually a combo of router, modem, and somehow switch also. Okay, and when we get this Wi-Fi router, okay, so these type of devices like Wi-Fi router, and let's check the ports, guys. So you can see here we have only internet cable, but this type of port is not like DSL. So it means when you are putting any connectivity here or any type of connection, so ISP should give a Ethernet link to you. Then only you can use this type of device. It means uh, let me show you. Okay. So what I was trying to say. So like okay. So ISP. What is ISP, by the way? Internet Service Provider. Okay. So ISP is giving you connection, and you have this device which we call this ADSL. Okay. It has a Wi-Fi, but it has a limited range. It only goes up to maybe 100 square feet area. But you have a big home, big house, and you want to send these signals to another uh, part of the room. So what you will do, you will put a Wi-Fi router here, which we have seen right now. So we can just put down one cable, and we can place a Wi-Fi router here to extend the range, basically. So ADSL is required when you are getting the connectivity in the form of either this type of cable. We used to use this PSTN cable, like public switch telephone network cable, either in the form of fiber. So when you are going to get the fiber connectivity, we are going to use fiber modems. Okay, and uh, so ADSL, fiber, sometimes ISP gives direct Ethernet connectivity also, or what we call this copper cable. Sometimes I have seen this, but it's not common. So this is PSTN is common, and fiber nowadays is common. Yeah, thanks, Nikhil. Yeah, fiber modems I explained, like when any device or any ISP is sending, because light has more speed, right? So when we are sending data with the in the form of light, right, this fiber modem is actually converting your light signals into electrical signals, because your computer still don't understand what we call this light optical signals, because your computers does not have that type of chips, those who understand light signals. But when you go into this corporate world, your router actually gets fiber cable directly into the port. Means we can place fiber cables inside our routers. So how? Why we can't put fiber cables in computers? Because the router, uh, these type of routers or any high-end devices, or nowadays servers also, so they have a small chip that is known as SFP. So this chip is known as small form pluggable adapter. So this chip is like a small modem which is helping you out to convert your light signals into electrical signals to the router. Are you getting now? So this works like a small modem which actually converting your optical signals into electrical signal. This is the work done by SFP. So this is the reason we have SFP type of chips inside the router. If you have not seen it, ignore right now. We will see later on. Okay. But high-end devices can, like in a server, in a routers, we can place fiber cables directly because of this small chips, SFP. Himanshu, that you have to figure out. ADSL, you are getting a ADSL, you have four ports outside ADSL, and you can just connect a Ethernet cable to your Wi-Fi router and put that device into bridge mode or any type of mode. It will show you the all the functionality Wi-Fi router. Okay, clear. Just say yes. SFP is a small form pluggable adapter. I'll show you what is SFP. Again, I'll give you real examples also. Okay, so I'll show you what is SFP. SFP. Okay, so SFP is actually a small chip, or you can say that it's a small part. Okay, so this part is actually, we are putting this part inside the servers, routers, so that it can convert optical signals into electrical signals, because we can't put optical signals directly into the devices. So you can see here, all the Cisco devices or all other company devices are using these type of ports. We are not putting directly fiber cable into the device, because we are putting this SFP first, and then we are putting or adding the cable. Clear? What is the SFP plus? SFP plus means 10 GB. SFP is 1 GB. SFP plus is 10 GB. Okay. Himanshu, that is a different concept. Yeah. So I'm not going inside very advanced right now. So because this is a network fundamental class. Okay. Yeah. So I have explained you what is a router, switch also. Okay. Uh, I'll show you something interesting. So that I always show to my students. So just hold on. No, Avinash. So Avinash is asking something that it has 250 computers, like 250 computers. Okay. So all these computers are actually, suppose these are 250 pieces. Okay. So all these PCs have one chip that is known as, all machines, all laptops have one card that is known as NIC card. So that is network interface card. So you can check your laptop right now. You may be having some port where we can put down the cable, or maybe you have wireless, right? Why? Maybe you should have this wireless card. So all these chips are known as NIC. So either we have wired NIC, where we can put down our cable, and we have wireless NIC. So what is this NIC? NIC is a chip or any type of part which is actually helping you to connect your computers with the network. Okay. So you are adding the network cables into the computers, and where we are adding these cables in a small, like this chip is nowadays integrated in the motherboard. So we don't have to add this, but a few years back we need to buy a separate card to install in the PCs. But nowadays it's pre-installed into the motherboard. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. NIC card is basically your Ethernet port. Yes, when we say we have Ethernet port in our laptop, that actually means it's a NIC. And do you know that your computer does not have any MAC address? Your NIC chips have. It means if my laptop has wired NIC, means and wireless NIC, and a Bluetooth adapter, Bluetooth NIC, Bluetooth means also NIC. So it means if I have three things in my laptop, it means how many MAC address we will have? Three MAC address. Okay, because this MAC address, when we say MAC address, so this is not an address which we are giving to any computer or machine. This is a hardware address which is actually address of these chips. Either it is a Bluetooth, wireless, or wired. Okay. So if somebody is asking you how many MAC address you have in your laptop, just count the NIC. Okay. So NIC you can count, you can check with the help of which command? ipconfig. Okay. So I'm using MacBook here. So I can, so if you are using Windows, you can type ipconfig right now and you can see all the details or your yes, your NIC. So I'm in Linux and in MacBook, we have if config. Okay, so in if config, so you can see a lot many ports here because some are virtual ports. Okay, virtual means that is created just for the virtual purpose like VMware and all. Okay, so you can see here EN0. So my computer is getting this IP address right now 192.168.1.3. Okay, so you can use ipconfig. Okay. Yeah, yeah, I'll explain MAC address, don't worry. Okay. Avinash, it's same, just the name. Okay. Yeah. So how many candidates we got? 120. Okay. So let's okay. Yeah, so I was discussing the question. So we have around 250 computers, remember? Yeah. So when we have all these devices are connected with the help with the device we call this switch. Okay. All the cables are going inside this device. This is switch. Right. So these suppose these type of NIC have a speed. Nowadays we got 1 Gbps, but few old laptops have 100 Mbps. So suppose all the ports. So do you know what is kbps, mbps, and all these things? So just a quick overview. So we have 0 and 1. These are known as bits. Okay. So when we have 8 0 1s, when we count 8 0 or 1s, either it would be 0 or 1, that 8 bits are known as 1 byte. So like 0 1 0 1 1 1 0 0. So what is this? This is 1 byte. Okay. So when we have 8 0 and 1s, computer understand this 1 byte. Okay. And when we have 1024 bytes, when we have combo of, this is a group which is byte, when we have 1024 similar 0 1s, that is known as 1 kilobyte. Okay, obviously then you know kb, and when we have 1024 kb, we say this, what we call this, 1 MB, megabyte. And then we have gigabyte, terabyte, petabyte, hexabyte, exabyte, zettabyte, a lot many bytes. Okay, so you can check this on Google, but yes, you understand this. Bits, 8 bits is 1 byte and 102. See, I was taking one interview few years back, and just I asked one person, what is 1 byte? So even that person can't able to give that. So he was saying 8 bits. So I was just asking, what is 8 bits? So that was the actually answer. Zero ones are actually bits, right? So 0 and 1 are bits. So it happens sometimes, but you can't. In interviews, you got blank. Okay. So now if all my devices are 100 Mbps, right? So how much throughput they will get? What is throughput? Means how much data they can send or receive, maximum 100 Mbps. If my computer has 100 Mbps, what is the maximum throughput? Throughput means how much data I can send or receive, that is throughput. So how much data this device maximum send or receive? 100 Mbps, right? That is the same example. Like we are we have a pipe from where we are transferring water or something, right? So we can when the pipe is broad, then we can send or transfer a lot of water. But when the pipe is smaller, we can share small amount of water, right? So this is what I'm trying to explain. This all your computers are like 100 Mbps. They can only get maximum 100 Mbps, and you got an internet connection of 1 Gbps. Tell me how much maximum speed these computers will get. Tell me. You have 1 Gbps internet connection, but your computers have 100 Mbps. So what would be the maximum speed you will get? Yes, correct. 100 Mbps, right? So that is exactly throughput means. And let's take another example. Let's take another example. When you have 1 Gbps, all your ports have 1 Gbps, but they are using 100 Mbps connection. So what would be the maximum speed these devices will get? Again 100, right? Because you are going to internet, but when they are sending data to each other, they are sending data to each other, or they are sharing data between them, how much data or how much throughput they will get? Yes, 1 Gbps. Correct, correct. Very good. Cool. Clear? Okay, good. Okay, so explain again. Okay, so explain again. Okay, don't worry. So I was saying, so this is my computer. Okay. Okay, so I'm getting internet connection of 1 Gbps, but I have a chip in my computer which is only supports 100 Mbps. That is, so 100 Mbps, sometimes we call this 100 Mbps fast Ethernet. Okay, so when we use 1 GB or 1 GB connection, so we call this 1 gigabyte or giga Ethernet. Okay. And when we have 10 Mbps speed, which is very obsolete, but we call this Ethernet. Okay, Ethernet. So I'm asking, you have an internet connection of 1 Gbps. You have a device here which is giving you whole 1 Gbps, but your computer supports 100 only. Okay, so you can't have speed more than 100 Mbps. So I'll give you one another example. So all devices should have good speed, right? Suppose you have 1 Gbps, okay, and your computer has 1 Gbps, but you have a device which is only supports 300 Mbps. So tell me how much speed you will get. Maximum 300, right? Because between the transmission, if any device have low bandwidth, it means you are going to get the same bandwidth. Okay. So I'll show you one trick from ISP side. Okay. So I'll show you one thing. So just let me show you one thing. Suppose you have very good laptop, right? MacBook, and you have 1 Gbps port. You got an internet connection also. Suppose 100 Mbps. Okay. You got an internet connection of 100 Mbps. Okay. So you are paying for 100 Mbps plan. Suppose you are paying $50 or approximately 2000 Indian currency. So you are paying for this internet connection, but you think that you are getting 100 Mbps connectivity. Okay. And when you are watching a video from YouTube, but you are getting a delay, means it keeps on buffering, and you always complain to this local ISP, man, you have given me 100 Mbps, but I'm not able to watch this YouTube in 720 pixels or 1080. Why? Because maybe this local ISP giving you 100 Mbps link here, but maybe they have a 100 MB or maybe low bandwidth link over the internet, because they are also taking connection from somewhere. So this is the trick actually played by local ISP, right? So they say 1 Gbps, 100 Mbps, but when you actually do the speed test, they go to their server only. um, I hope I'm trying to explain this, so I'll show you exactly. Okay, I'm going with speed test. Okay, so I'm checking speed test. So by the way, I'm in North India right now in Chandigarh. Okay, so I'll check. This is a small ISP I'm using, Fastway. Okay, so let me check the speed. Go. So it's giving me 70, 80. Even I'm teaching right now with Zoom, so this is the reason it's giving me 80, 90 and all. It means from my ISP is giving me around 90 Mbps and upload speed also 90 to 100 Mbps. Right? Are you getting now? So you always go and check, okay, and they show you the speed test, but exactly it doesn't mean you are actually getting 100 Mbps over the internet. So this is just a marketing gimmick by ISPs. I'm actually opening their secrets. Okay, no issues. So 100 Mbps, here we are getting 90, but again I'm going to speed test, but I'm going to choose another server. Maybe it's in Bangalore or maybe somewhere, or maybe let's check in New York. Let's test one any server in New York. So let's test how much speed actually. So you can just check the speed outside India and you will be actually getting that speed only. So you can't go more than that. So let's see. It's going good. Might be my ISP is good, right? But it see, if New York is giving me 70, it means my ISP is good. This is how you check your ISP. So just check with another country ISP or any location, and you will find this actually gives me. Yes, so mine is better because I have around 3 connections at my home, and I'm using this one because this is the best one. Okay. Now you got the point what I was trying to say. If you are getting low speed over the different servers, it means the bandwidth is choking somewhere. Okay. Might be ISP have low bandwidth plan. So this is, you guys need to check. Okay. Cool. Okay, guys, let's take a 5 to so these sessions are of 2 hours. Okay, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Okay, so I don't think you will mind if I'm going to take 5 to 10 minutes break, because I have not done my dinner yet. So I'm going to take 10 minutes break. Okay, so we will meet at 10:12. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So have your dinner and come back in 10 minutes. So I'm just going to pause this record. Okay, great. And I'll explain you how to access the lab also. Okay. Okay. So what exactly we are going to do? We are going to connect two machines and we will see how they are going to share files with each other. Okay. So we are going with the first practical. Okay. In the first practical or first lab, what we are going to do. So like my two computers will be connecting with a cable, and I'm going to assign IP address here, and I'm going to assign one IP address here. And before assigning the IP address, so I'm going to explain you one thing, that is IP address classes. So just remember one thing. We have three classes, class A, B, C. D, E we will discuss. So when any IP address start from 1 or between 1 to 126, you need to match the first part. That is, first is network part. I'll explain. So if two computers are connected together, they have IP 1.1.1.1, and this computer is having 1.1.1.5. So in class A, any IP address start from between 1 to 126. We just need to check the first part. So tell me, they are matching or not? Yes? Yes. So it means they will communicate with each other. What if I'm going to give 1.1.1.1 and here 2.1.1.1? So our is the first octet or first part is matching? No, right? So they will not communicate. They are not going to communicate with each other because our first network part in class A between 1 to 126 by default is this. We can change these things. That terminology is known as subnetting. Okay, that we will discuss later on. So in B, when the IP address is between 128 to 191, so we need to check how many parts. We need to match two parts, guys, two parts only. It means when we have IP 150.1.1.1 and here we have 150.2.1.1 or 2.7, so tell me, are they going to communicate with each other? Yes, routing is a different. I'm just asking about two computers first. See, in class B, need to match two things. So just check if two things or first two parts are matching. No, big no. They will not communicate. They are not going to communicate with each other. Why? Because my first two octets are not matching. My network bits are not matching. It means they are not in my network. This is the power of network bits. In class C, we have 192 to 223. So that is three network part. It means we need to match three portion. So suppose I got 192 168 1.1, which is very common IP. 192 168 1.5. This is class C. where we are going to match 3 network bits. So tell me if they are going to communicate. Yes. And what we will do to communicate in between these ones. So what we are going to do, either we will make this 2 or either we will make both 150.1, right? Then they are able to communicate with each other. So this 127, which is not here, that is for loopback testing or loopback IPs. That is for self-owned IPs or local host. It means all your computers, when Windows starts, right, it appears a logo, all the services are in background, or all the services inside your machine, because your laptop machine itself is server for your machine, because you are getting all the images, all icons of the files. So that is a self-host IP or self-hosted IP addresses. That means these are your IPs. Okay, so means your internal IPs which are not accessible or accessible from outside. Like it's a soul, you can say that, right? We can't transfer until unless you have black magic tricks. Okay, bad joke. Let's go with the lab. So labs, I'll explain later on. Just first do the lab first. Okay, to access the labs, we are going to use racks.nwkings.com. Here is the trick. I'm going to use one port number 8081. I think this is the 8086, sorry. Okay, and I'm going to use HTTPS here. Okay. So you'll be getting an email very soon to access the server. So we have installed Eve engine on top of our servers so that you can access the lab. Okay, so I have already made a lab here, 2PC. When you are going to log in, so you are going to get this lab, first lab here. Okay, so open it. You don't have to do anything, just these two PCs are my two window machines. Looks good? Or should I change the icons? Okay, it's good. So now I'm going to click on PC1 and I'm going to start this. Start. And I'm going to click on another PC, start. Okay. And just click on the PC1, and I'm here starting Windows 7 and in another PC also, PC2. So my two PCs are opened here. Cool, right? So the password is test123. Okay. T in uppercase. Test123. Remember it. When you are going to do the lab, it will help you. Okay, so my second PC is here. I'm going to log in test123. So my two PCs are here. Yes, it's fast, obviously. So how we are going to give IP address? So in Windows, I'm going to give you one shortcut, that is ncpa.cpl. You can write down this shortcut, ncpa.cpl. Okay, ncpa.cpl, enter it, and we are connected with this local area connection, means the port. So right click on this and properties, and here you can see internet protocol version 4. We are using version 4 right now. Okay, and click on properties, and here we are going to assign the IP. So this is the option here, obtain an IP address automatically. It means when you connect with the Wi-Fi or any type of router or any device, it actually gives you IP address automatically. That is DHCP. So we will discuss DHCP later on, but here we are going to assign the IP. So I'm going to use class A 1 1 1 1. Okay, and here we got by default automatically subnet mask. This 255, it means just need to match the first part. Okay, when we have 1255 here, it means we need to just check the first part. So in first PC, I have given 1.1.1.1. Okay, close. And let's check the IP address is configured or not. Status and details. Here we can see DHCP is enabled. No, because we have configured the IP address manually. So you can see here 1.1.1.1. Okay. So this is my first PC IP address 1.1.1.1. Close it. And in another PC, tell me which IP address should I use? Can I assign 2.1.1.5? Okay. So in the second system, I'm going to give properties, and inside the properties, I'm going to give here. I'm going to use 1, 1, 1. Let's take 100, or let's make it simple 1112. Okay, again 255. It means my first computer and the second computer is having 255 here. It means I'm going to check the first portion. So if both the portion are same, it means both my PCs are in same network. Kevin, I'll explain IPv6 later on. It's little advanced, right? So first go with the IPv4, and this is how exactly we train. The difference between IPv4 and IPv6 is IPv4 is 32-bit and IPv6 is 128-bit. Means it's a combination of 128.0.1. It's a big address. We can assign a lot many IP addresses in IPv6. But in IPv4 we have limited range. So IPv4 is now almost collapse, or what we call that, or almost utilized. So this is the reason we have IPv6 now. Ashish, I'll explain. So so both the PCs, just see the practical guys first, okay? So might be you will learn something. Maybe it's very basic, but obviously it's a fundamental class, right? Hmm. So I'm going to show you something. So I'm in C directory. Let me go inside C. So I'm in C drive right now. So you can see this is my C drive, right? So I'm going to create a one file here, or no need to create here. I'll show you something. So there is a command called ipconfig where you can see all your IP address. But I want to just get all this output in one file. So I'm in C drive. I'm just using this symbol and I'm putting this into 1.txt, or this any name, suppose atul.txt. So in C drive, let's see if there is a file. Yes, we can see here atul.txt, and let's open it, and we got all the details. Even Windows sometimes behaves like Linux, right? So my computer is 1.1.1.1. Okay, and here you can see all Ethernet adapter and all. Okay, great. Okay, so let's check how to test if my another PC is connected to PC1. So how we are going to identify PC1 is connected to PC2 now? So there is a tool called ping. So ping stands for packet internet grouper, or okay. So this ping is a tool to test the connectivity between two devices, or either 100 of devices also. So 1.1.1.2, we need to send this ping request. So you can see we are getting 4 replies. It means we have sent 4 packets. We got 4 replies. It means 0% loss. It means we are connected with this device. This is how we come to know these two devices are connected now. So what is TTL and time and all? I'll explain. So first of all, I'm by default I'm sending 32 bytes of packet. So ping is a packet. Okay. So I'm sending 4 packets and I'm getting 4 packets reply. It means, so my two PC are connected. I'm sending 4 ping request. This is known as echo request. We call this echo request. Okay. And how computer understand this is echo request? There is a code in it. And that code is basically 8. So this is a type code. So how my computer understand it's a request? Because when we send this echo request, echo is a type of message we are sending from PC A to PC B with a code that is echo request type code 8. That means it's a request and B is going to reply with all 4 replies here. So that is echo reply. For every request, we are going to receive 1 reply. It means we are sending 4 packets. It means we are going to get back 4 replies. And the echo reply code is 0. So that is the type code of echo reply. So this is how your computer understand when they are getting, because computer is getting 0 1, all the data in the form of 0 1. So how it is getting its echo reply or echo request? Because when we are going to write this 8 into this binary form, like kind of this. So when these type of 0 1s are coming from another device, it means we are getting a request and we need to send a reply back with all zeros. Okay. So if it's getting more complex, you can just simply understand it's a ping packet. We are sending request and we are getting reply back. And this is a tool to check the connectivity between two devices. So by default, we are sending what type of size? By default, when we are sending data, we are sending 32 bytes of packet. Okay. Yes, ICMP. Yeah. And in how much time we are getting reply back? In 2 millisecond, 1 millisecond. This time represents how much time my computer is sending data to another device and device is sending reply, and this reply is coming in 2 millisecond. Second reply I got in 1 millisecond. Okay, third reply I'm getting in 2 milliseconds. So it varies, right? Sometimes it 2 millisecond, 3 millisecond. It depends on the location also. If you are pinging google.com, obviously you are going to get more time because Google servers are at different location. We call this latency. We call this uh, time also. You can say that delay. You can say that in network language. Delay, latency, time. All these are common or same thing. So what is TTL over here? That is time to live. Time to live. Suppose we are sending a ping to any device, but it's not actually present in my network. Suppose you are sending request from PC A to any device which is not in network. Okay, over the internet, it actually over the internet it is very important. When you are pinging google.com, but mistakenly you are pinging some another IP which is not over that IP is not available in the internet. So actually what happens, your routers, if you are sending ping request, your router is going to decrement this value with 1. Suppose you are sending request with 128, the first router will make it 127. The request is going with another router 126, 125. So if location is not identified, if location is not in my network or anywhere in the network, that packet will be discarded or dropped when the TTL value will be 0. So TTL is just like expiry date. Okay. So if I'm going to send a limit with the 128, it means if we don't get this IP address within the 128 routers, I'm going to drop this packet. Got it? Why we have this TTL value? Because if we don't have TTL, the packet will keep revolving in our network and it will create internet loops. This is the power of TTL value. If we don't have anything in internet, it is going to discard it or drop after roaming to 128 routers. Yeah. Okay, cool. Are you getting these things? Okay, cool. Okay, it means TTL value is a like expiry date. If we don't get in 128 routers, I'm going to drop this packet. So that is TTL value. Okay. So my both PCs are connected with each other. Latency means a delay. Okay, if you are pinging from India to USA, definitely it is going to take time. That is latency. 0% loss doesn't mean you will have drops when you have high latency. It means yes, when the packet is coming from very long distance, sometimes packet drops and it will show you lost here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to share one folder in PC1 and let's see if PC2 can access it. Okay, so this is the first thing we are doing. See, when two computers are connected together, that is a network, right? I explained you. I have explained you. This is somebody is asking what ping actually command do. Ping is actually to test that another device is connected to me or not. If I'm getting reply from another computer, it means both the devices are connected to each other and they can share files now. So let me share one file in PC1. I'm going to create one folder. Okay. Suppose I'm share. Okay. So let's make a folder Kevin here. Okay. So I'm adding this file in Kevin. So you can see, and let me just copy paste multiple times. So this folder has multiple files. Okay. So I'm going to share this folder, share with specific people, and I'm going to add everyone. And I'm going to add, okay, just click here, everyone, add, share, and share it. So now this Kevin folder is shared. How to access from another computer now? It's very simple. Just type here double slash and I'm going to type the IP address of first device. Boom. We got the folder, right? So you can see 1.1 in my network has shared the Kevin folder and I'm going to copy this or we can save. See in C drive we don't have folder and I'm going to paste here. So this is how we exactly transfer the files from one computer to another computer. Got it? Sometimes what happens, like you need to check your properties also, like advanced sharing settings. Sometimes your turn network discovery on file sharing, these are off. So you need to enable these ones. Then only you can access the folder. If you are not able to access from your real devices, sometimes like firewall is blocking or something is happening, you need to figure out. Okay, yeah, obviously. So sometimes you need to disable this Windows firewall. Sometimes it is restricting you to share, so I have already disabled it. Okay, so this is how you are going to do the first lab. So this is for PC1, and let me show you few other things. Okay, so there is a so when we want to get the MAC address of this device, there is a command called get MAC -v. So if you want to see all your MAC address, there is a command get MAC -v. There is a command also ipconfig/all. But if you want to see all your network adapters MAC address, so this is the physical MAC address. You can see here 50.0000. So this is the MAC address. And there is another thing like ipconfig/all. So it will also display you the MAC address. So you can see here I'm using this technology Intel MT network. So this is my MAC address 50.001.0.0.0. And if you want to see in a very simple way, so just again go to that ncpa.cpl, and I'm going to click over here status and details, and here also you can see your physical MAC address. Okay, cool. So now your homework would be like you can check with class B, class C. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So I'll show you something today. So what is IP address basically? So IP address is of two types. One is IPv4, and when we have IPv6. So this is 32-bit IP address. It means it's a combo of 32 zero ones and it's a combo of 128 bits. You remember bits, right? So 0 and 1 is bits. So IPv4 is in the form of four groups. Four groups. Okay, and that is into decimal format. Like IP address is 200.1.1.1. This is a decimal format. When we see IP version 4, it represents into the decimal format. And in IPv6, we have a groups, eight groups. And here, group is known as octet, and each group is of 8 bit. All groups are of 8 bit, and here each group is of 16 bit. So 16 into 8 is 128, right? So 16-bit group, and here we have 8-bit group and four groups. So 4 into 8 is 32. So if you plus all 8 bits, 8 8 8 8, you are getting 32 bits. And here we have 16 groups and 8 groups, it means 128 bit. Okay, and here the IP address looks like this: 2001.123.4.0.0.0.0, kind of 0.0.0. Okay, it's actually big address, so I'm trying to just 3 4 5 6. Okay, this type of address, very big address. You can see it's very short and easy to remember. Here it's complex, but yes, there is a way to shorter this address also. Okay, so we can place double colons instead of zeros. Okay, so we will discuss this later on. Okay, but IPv6 looks like this address, and you can see some CAFE, ABCD, and all these terms. This is known as hexadecimal. Why we use IPv6? Because we have a shortage of IPv4. Almost all IPv4 is used now. So this is the reason IPv6 is commonly seen nowadays. Okay. So to start learning IP address subnetting, you need to understand the basic concepts, that is like decimal to binary, binary to decimal, all other things. So just a quick intro. I'll give you overview about what is decimal to binary and why it's important. I'll show you. Trust me, if you already know this thing, but still you are going to learn something new today. Suppose we have a IP address 192.168.1.1. So this is a decimal format. Your computer does not understand decimal format. Your computer understand binary. So these things we are learning from our school days, that computer understand binary language, machine language, right? So how computer is going to understand this IP address? We also need to understand that thing. So IP address, I told you this is of 32-bit and each group is of 8-bit. Every group is of 8-bit. And how we represent this? Because 0 and 1, how many values are the, so 0 1, it means this is a 2, right? It's two values. So this is the reason we always take the combo of 2. So we can take to the power of to represent 8 bits. How we are going to represent it? We start with the power of 2, from right to left, to the power of 0, to the power of 1, to the power of 2, to the power of 3, 4, 5, to the power of 6, to the power of 7. So if you know these things, it's good. So 2 the power of 0 is 1, 2 the power of 1 is 2, 2 the power of 2 is 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and 2 the power of 7 is 128, right? And 2 the power of 8 is 255. So now if I want to write 192, so I'm going to write first all these values here, like 128. You can just note down. If you want to pen down this, you can pen down 421, right? So how I'm going to make 192? Very simple. Just take group of 128 plus 64. 128 plus 64 is 192, and put all the values which we are not using 0. Yes, very simple, right? So just take for 168, very simple, just take 128 plus 32. 128, 32 is 160, and 160 plus 8, 168. And what would be the binary for this? It's very simple. All zeros, and in the last we get 1. And another one we are going to get 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. If you understand, just type yes in the chat section. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to show you why we have classes in IP version 4. Okay, let's go ahead. Yeah. So now there is a organization known as INA, Internet Assigned Number Authority. Internet Assigned Numbered Authority. So what they have done, they have like they have divided the classes. Like how they have divided, like we are going to write the same thing here. Like we are going to take one octet, like we have 4 groups. We are going to write the same here, to the power of 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. So just write down the values: 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. Okay. So let's play the game. So what INA has introduced, it actually made the groups, like in the first group, we are going to take all values 0. So it means what value I'm going to get here? 0, right? In the second group, I'm going to take 1 here and rest all my values will be 0. And it means if we have 1 here, it means I'm going to get 128 here. Okay. And in the third group, we are going to add 2 ones. It means what value we are going to get? 128, 64, 192. And here we have 3 ones and we are going to get 224, right? And in the another part, we are going to take 4 ones, 240. And what would be the maximum if we plus all values? We get what value? 255. And what comes before 240, guys? That is 239. What comes before 224? 223. What comes before 192? 191. And what comes before 127? This is A, B, C, D, E. Enjoy. Okay. So this is how INA formed IP addresses. And you don't have to cram every time. Just remember this formula. And so it's very simple. In the first group, we are taking all zeros. When we plus all zeros, we get 0. And here in the second group, in A class, all values are 0. In B class, just take one group. C, we are going to take 2 ones. In D, we are going to take 3 ones. In E class, we are going to take 4 ones. So that is the actually representation of, yeah. Might be some of you are thinking like I have gone through to hundreds of books. This formula is not in the books or maybe over the internet. How this trainer knows these things? Or might be there are, but so it actually I'm just yeah, 127 is actually class A, but we don't consider this 0 and 127 are reserved. So 0 and 127 is reserved. So how I got to know? Because when we ask questions from ourselves, why we have, like I used to, when I was in college, I was like I used to think in this regards, like why they have made the classes, right? So we always remember the classes, but we only like used to cram, but this is the exactly reason. Okay. And do you know this, like if you want to buy a IP address, you can't directly go to INA. So INA has formed fa what we call this RIRs. So INA has regional internet registries. So these are known as regional internet registries. Registries. So first registry is like America registry for America, ARIN. For Asia, that is APNIC. For Latin America, that is LATNIC. For Russia, that is RIPE. And for Africa, that is Afrinic. So this is by continent wise, right? And if I'll discuss about APNIC because I belong to this. So that is Asia Pacific Network Information Center. Okay, Asia Pacific Network Information Exchange something. So you can just check it or Google it. So I highly recommend you this to go on. So if I want to buy IP address in India. So this, I want to go directly to Appnik, not to Aina. If I want to buy a IP address in America, I will contact Erin. Yeah, Aina is not a yeah, it's a kind of government body, but now it's what we call this. It's for all. Kind of it's a government body, but it's an organization now, or like what we call this WHO. It's a or a government, or it's a global organization, right? So it's like that kind of. Yeah, centralized. Okay, so Aaron Apnic, Latnic, RIPE, Afrinic. So America Registry Information Numbers, Asia Pacific Network Information Center, Latin America Network Information Center. So that stands for RESUX Internet Protocol Exchange. That stands for Africa Network Information Center. Okay, so go and check it. So now, one question that arises, from where we are getting internet. Like I'm getting internet from one ISP, that is Airtel. But from where Airtel is getting the connection? Maybe from different ISP. Maybe let's take AT&T. From where AT&T is getting the connection? You must be thinking that maybe they are taking connection from somewhere or some kind of ISP. It's not like that. So internet, I told you, internet is a network of networks. So Airtel, AT&T, Sprint, when they are actually connected each other, when all the ISPs in the world, like Tata, like Telstra, all companies or all, like all ISPs are connected together, they are actually making internet. So internet is not coming from anywhere, right? It's a combination of all the networks are connected. Yes, correct, Rudresh. Okay, so it's a history, like how it started. I'll give you the overview because it actually motivates and gives interest or creates interest to learn networks. So when there is a Cold War between Russia and India, okay, not India, sorry, there was no Cold War between Russia and India. So Russia and USA. Yeah, yeah, I do remember. So my bad. Yeah. So Russia launched a satellite, their first satellite in the space. That is, I think, Sputnik something. Okay. So they have sent one satellite over the space and they are getting signals. And when they are getting signals, somebody is jealous and they actually made two organizations. That is, that is a DARPA and NASA at the same time. Means um, it can be a delay between them, but they actually started two organizations. You already know this, right? So DARPA is Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. So actually what they have done, so they have like in USA, they have underlaid the cables to connect multiple defense sites. Okay, maybe New York, maybe somewhere another areas of US, right? Dallas and all, Texas and all. So all the areas are like under the cables are under these cities are connected for the connectivity between army projects, or maybe something is going with, right? So basically this group is made to create a network so that all the cities or all their armies can communicate with each other. So when this project got famous, they actually released a public version of it that is known as Advanced Research Project Agency, that is ARPA. They formed another ARPA. Okay. So ARPA means when they launched this, they asked like when we create a big company or big, like suppose I'm a builder, okay, I'm making a very big, like I'm making 1,000 flats or maybe bigger or big project. So I'm going to ask investors to put down their money in my project, right? So when Advanced Research Project Agency came, like some investors, like those are known as now ISPs, like they came into picture and they invested to put down the cables to connect the cities. Like when people are actually investing to create a big network, now they are known as tier 1 ISP. So what is tier 1 ISP? Those who actually invested in the cables, so that is known as tier 1 ISP. So there is a like to become a tier 1 ISP, tier 1 ISP is like the king of ISPs, you can say that. So tier 1 ISP is actually giving connections to tier 2 ISPs. There are a lot of tier 2 ISPs in the world also. All they are taking connections from tier 2. For the backup, they are taking from multiple tier 1s. And these tier 2 ISPs are giving connections to the local ones, which are known as tier 3 or local ISPs. So these are tier 3, or we can call these local ISP. So these are very small ISPs, like maybe you have in your hometown, but it's not in another cities, tier 3. And users can connect to these ones also, and these ones. So who are tier 1? Like I remember few names like AT&T, level 3, okay, Sprint, Comcast cables. So these are from all US. So in Canada, it's I think Rogers Cable or maybe, right? In Australia, it's Telstra. In India, only one name, Tata Communications. Japan and all, they have Singtel. Like there is another one, NTT Communications. So you can just Google it, tier 1 ISP. You will have around 15 to 20 names. Means only 15 to 20 ISPs in the world are actually investing in big projects. And that big projects actually, they are investing in most of submarine cables. So I'll show you the last thing of this class today so that you will have good dreams of submarine cables. So I'm going with the map submarine cable. Okay, just go and check this website. Okay, so all these are cables under sea, which is actually connecting all of us to have this Zoom session. This is the main purpose. Okay, so all the countries are connected, and if you check Tata here, so there is a lot of list here. So I can just click on the list, and you can see this is a cable which is known as CCOM, which is actually a 15,000 kilometer cable, which owned by Tata. So I can check another. So why Tata is tier 1? I am showing you why Tata is tier 1, because they are not actually, Tata is from India, by the way, obviously most of you know. But yes, why Tata is tier 1? I'm giving you example because they are not actually only investing in connecting India. Even we are, even Tata is from India, but they are actually connecting UK to France, Spain, and Portugal also. So you can see this cable is a Tata TGN Western Europe cable, and it's not coming to India. So everyone used to think Tata must be deploying or uh, adding these cables for India. No, Tata is a like an investor. This is the reason they are known as tier 1 ISP, right? So this is how we check. And if you want to see any particular location or any, if you are from USA and all, so you can see these are sub C points. So you can check any of the cable. This cable is implemented by Vodafone, and Vodafone is, by the way, from UK. And but this cable is between UK, France, and US. So it's very interesting map. You can always check this. Okay. So guys who came late in this session, and if you want lab access, you can just put down your email ID and we are going to create. Obviously, see, when we asked for the registrations, we got around 340. Obviously, we have only 100 seats for the lab, right? And this is a testing we are doing for our racks. So yeah. So don't type again and again if you have already typed your email address. Okay. So I think it's enough for today. We can't learn CCI today or CCNA in one class. So it takes time. But first we need to create interest in this network field. Then only we can go up to the top level. Trust me, if you really love this technology, you can have like thousands, or maybe like if I'll talk about USA, you can go up to 150 or 2 lakhs dollars up to in not as a fresher, but it takes time. And in India also, like you can go up to 50 lakhs, 60 lakhs also in this particular field, but it takes time. You can't jump to 50 lakhs package within 1 year or 2 years. It takes time, right? So I'll show you, or I'll give you one career strategy also, what exactly you need to learn in 2021. Obviously 2020 is going, so we will discuss about 2021 plan also, right? And I'll give you the step by step things because like I have good exposure. And if you have, obviously everyone needs guidance. Without guidance you can't learn, right? Yeah. Okay, so definitely from tomorrow we are going to see another things, and we are going to configure basic router setup also in these sessions. And I'm going to complete tomorrow subnetting, or maybe see, whenever I go into my sessions, I never plan my sessions. I go with the flow. So somebody is asking my qualification. So it's better you check LinkedIn. So you can see today recording. See, uh,